Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Enigmatica to Expert. So, since last episode, I've just been working and I was testing a reactor design since we're starting nuclearcraft. I don't know if we'll get a reactor up and running today because there's a lot involved with it. But we are going to be working towards that. So, I have been working out here a bit, working on the railings and stuff, and working on the roof and ceiling part of this, and starting to get some of this stuff squared away. And I also added a ladder here that just takes us up upstairs here. And then I did clean up these finally, so our pressure plates are done, are fixed. But anyways, today we are going to be starting nuclearcraft. If we open up the quest book here, nuclearcraft, we've done a few quests, you know, like the manufactories and the alloy furnace, the different platings we've gotten before, and actually we have a fission controller as well. There's a quest here to get a nuclear furnace. Let's go ahead and do that. We are actually probably not going to be using it because basically it's just a really fast furnace that uses, well, it takes tough alloy, so we're going to have to get that up and going first. Let's actually go ahead and make a bunch of this tough alloy because we're going to need it. It requires lithium and ferroboron, which ferroboron, I believe we've made this stuff before. It's a combination of boron and steel. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a stack of steel, a stack of boron. Yeah, we actually have one ferroboron in there. And we can just toss this stuff into the alloy furnace. It's going to start running, and it's going to produce this ferroboron alloy. And then to upgrade it to the tough alloy, we need lithium. So let's go ahead and grab a bit of that. And once this gets done running, we'll go ahead and pull that out. It is a little bit expensive, but it does make 2 ferroboron per craft. And then if I recall correctly, it makes 2 tough alloy per craft. So that's not too bad. And after we get done with this round of stuff, our power troubles will be gone, which will be good. But there is quite a bit. Our power troubles will be gone for a while, and then we'll upgrade to bigger reactors, you know, later on. Let me go ahead and order some of this basic plating. This stuff is just a lot of lead and some graphite is what's needed for that. So we're going to be eating through some lead and steel and stuff like that. So anyways, there's our nuclear furnace. Like I said, we're probably not going to use this thing because it is basically a fast furnace. I'm going to go ahead and take our loot chest. It's a fast furnace that requires like nuclear fuels to craft or to smelt things. But it does smelt very, very quick. And then right here, fission controller, we got that from a quest a bit back. And then they want us to make some fission fuels, which if that's the one they want us to make, is TBU. TBU is pretty bad. It says right here there's 52 possible fission fuels. We're not going to be using TBU. We can make some TBU, I guess. I don't know what it requires to make TBU fuel. Thorium. Okay, well, let's go ahead. Let's grab ourselves, like, I don't know, 9 thorium. And let's grab, we're going to make an isotope. We're actually going to need one of these anyways. We're going to make an isotope separator. So one of these. We're going to need machine chassis, and I'm not for sure if these are scannable. Let's pop down and see if they are. They might be in the new update. We're not currently running the new update at the time of recording this, so I don't know. No, it doesn't look like they are scannable, but that's fine because they're not that expensive. So let's go ahead. What do I need? 4 basic platings. Okay, I'll go ahead and order that. But this nuclear furnace, it's good, I guess, if you need fast smelting and you don't have IC2. We have IC2, so it's not really needed at the moment. I don't know if there's a quest for that. There probably is. Isotope separator right here, but we have to make the... Oh, there we go. Let's grab our loot chest. Dun-dun-dun. And isotope separator. Okay. So first up we have 64 paper flower walls. Then we have 8 barbecue platters, and then we have 8 impregnated casings. Okay. We shall take those. And our tough alloy is done. Let's grab that. I'm going to make some more ferroboron here in just a second. But we're going to go ahead and toss down this isotope separator. We're going to toss in our thorium. And once the power builds up, it's going to start separating that thorium and producing our thorium-232 and tiny clumps of 230. Now to make that fuel that they want us to make, we need just 9 of these 232s. Let me go ahead and pull this up because we need more things running at the moment. Let's go ahead and toss this down. Let's start making some more ferroboron. And let's see what we're going to need. Let's go ahead and grab our fission controller. These are craftable. They're not terrible. They are a little bit involved. They require a couple nuclear furnaces, some advanced plating, machine chassis, and some of this magnesium diboride solenoids, which you actually can find these. We've got some of them. If we take a look here, we've got 36 already just from exploring. Okay, I've had this running for a bit. There we go. There's the last of that running. We've got some tough alloy. And inside of here are thorium-232 and our tiny clumps of thorium-230. Those are done. So we'll go ahead and grab those, and we're going to craft a TBU fuel, just to complete the quest. I don't actually want TBU fuel. There we go, quest complete, and we get a loot chest. And you can look at your fuel stats. You can see process time, power generation, and the heat generation right there. Which we'll get into all of that stuff as we get our reactor set up. Okay, inside of our loot chest, we got a flux-infused battle wrench. Okay. That's a rare reward. I don't want that right now. We're going to put that away. Okay, so now what we're going to do, now that we've got our isotope separator, we've got our alloy furnace, we've got all that stuff, let's go ahead and craft ourselves up. First thing I want is some basic... or not basic. Not basic. I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and automate inside of our pattern terminal. We are going to make fission reactor casings. That's the first reactor. There's 3 main reactors types that you can go with. There's fission, there's fusion, and then there's salt. The salt reactors, which are fairly newer. We will get into those. They're pretty neat because they generate you make a lot of steam basically, and then you run it through like turbines. So, and these are just crafted fission reactor casing and glass, and you can make them that way. So we're just going to make everything through the fission reactor casings, then we can just change it over. So let's go ahead and get ourselves that. Okay, let's go ahead and order ourselves, let's say like 200. We're gonna need more tough alloy. Let's dump that into there. Let's order ourselves like 200 of these. So we're going to need a ton of lead. 297 lead ingots. Okay, cool. How much lead do I have? 132 left. Awesome. And I just went mining and I actually got a decent amount of lead, but I tell you what, like, you eat through some resources making these reactors. So, okay, and while that's running, what does it take to make the reactor sail? Tough alloy and just glass. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a recipe for this. So there's that. Let's get a recipe for this because I'm lazy. That way we can just order it through there. And then, let's see, I think that's the main things that we're going to want right this second. There's our 200 fission reactor casings. I'm just going to go ahead and grab these for right now. We are going to make a bunch of glass ones as well, but for right now I just want the reactor casings. And let's go ahead and pop over here. We're going to go ahead and start setting up our reactor so we can actually start putting things inside of it. And I think our reactor is going to set right back in here. This is, yeah, see, it's 10 wide, so it's going to be lopsided because the reactor design that we're going to be using is an odd number. So we might put it back in here, in fact. Let's see, let's dig out 9 by... So let's go like a 9 by 7. Like that. And then what we're going to do is the reactors, you don't fill in the corners of it. Which technically I could have this corner setting right in there. I'm not going to though. I'm going to put it right over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide. And then we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep on it. And then we're just going to fill in the whole floor here with reactor casings. So just like that. And then behind it, let's go ahead and do these. So you can see that the corners you don't actually fill in. Now you can put other blocks in there, but don't put your reactor casings in there because they're not supposed to go there. Basically, they're not supposed to go there. Actually, let's leave this open. We're going to do glass on this side, I think. So let's build it over like this. And I think we'll have this side and that side exposed with glass is what we're going to do. So that, and let's go ahead and build this up, and we're going to go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to have to dig this up. 7, 8, and then we're going to have reactor casings in here as well. That's going to be where the ceiling's at. And the reactor design that we're going to be going with today is one I just kind of created in a test world, and I liked it. Because what I was doing is I was going for high efficiency, and it is a toggle reactor, so it's not going to run 24/7. It's not designed to run 24/7. Basically, it runs, and it runs at a very high efficiency, and then whenever the heat builds up or the power gets built up, then it stops running. It shuts down until the heat gets down, or until the power gets down again, and then it'll toggle back on. It's not one, you're not going to run it and just leave it running like as a non-stop reactor, because the heat's just going to be too high if you do that. But this, personally, I think this is a very good starting reactor for us, because right now we don't really have any RF power draw. I mean, I'm going to plug up some machines, we'll have a little bit, but we have nothing as far as like a constant RF draw source that needs to be plugged up, nothing like that. And we're going to automate the toggling of it so that it toggles itself on and off. You know, whenever it needs to, based on the power and the heat. We're going to be measuring that with a redstone. So this is still one that we can kind of set and forget. Wow, I already used up so many of those. But, you know, it's not going to be one that just runs non-stop. So I think it's going to be good for us. And then, like I said, we're going to expand into other reactors. But this reactor design is actually going to make use of some of our prior work within IC2, so which is going to be nice, because we're going to kind of connect up nuclearcraft and IC2 into a beautiful beautiful way. So because honestly, the best, this is excluding mechanisms, quintupling, and higher or processing systems, but honestly the best way to process down uranium is through IC2. So we're going to combine IC2 with nuclearcraft, basically, and make use of the uranium processing, as well as our other reactors as well. So, okay, so there's most of it. Now I just have to put the glass on the front sides, and I need to put a base block underneath this. I'm not for sure which block I'm going to put underneath here. For right now, I'm going to just do a factory block, and it will change whenever I figure out exactly how I want to do the floor. But for right now, a factory block would be great. And then let's get ourselves the reactor. I want to go ahead and order, say, 46 of this stuff. And basically these factory blocks, I just want to run them along like the visible side here. It's, like I said, it's probably not going to stay factory blocks. But that way we do have a block down at least for the time being. So we'll do that. We'll do that. Okay, and then our transparent fission reactor glass, what we're going to do is we're going to put this down like right along there. Sadly, I can't put a casing there, but I can do an Ender IO painted casing block. So I might do something like that, or I might do some kind of contrast color type block. I'm not for sure. I haven't decided yet. I wanted to get this down and then kind of design the room around it more, instead of just trying to design a room without like a reference in game. So, okay, so there's a bit of it putting in. And then we do have this fission controller. We have to figure out where we want to put this. Now this can be placed, if we wanted to, we could put it right here, and it would You can see the casing is incomplete because the walls aren't up yet. But you can place your fission controller here if you want. That block can go right there. But that would be kind of awkward to access. So we're actually going to put it setting, say, right in here. I kind of like it to be height level. And then what we're going to do is build the reactor casing up on this side, I think. So we're going to put it right there. And then let's go get ourselves some more reactor blocks. Actually, I can't remember if the reactor ports can measure the redstone. So I may not actually want this right here. It might be more beneficial to put it right here. Maybe, or right... I tell you what, we could put it right here. So the controller is going to be kind of out of the way, but that way I can hide the redstone away for this pretty easily. There we go. So that stuff is done. If we take a look in here, it does read it. It's a 7x7x5 fission reactor. That's perfect. And you can see there's the energy storage, there's the heat generation storage. Heat, of course, being a bad thing, you want to get rid of that. Currently, there's no fuel in here. There's no sails. There's no RF partic. There's no heat partic at the moment. Okay, so what we're going to do, the next thing that I want to do, is I want to grab some sails. We're going to go ahead and populate this with some sails, and that's where, of course, the fuel is going to go. And altogether, we are going to need 21 sails. And we're missing some tough alloy. Okay. Can I, yeah, I can get that. Okay, now we can order this. They're not very expensive. Tough alloy and glass. That's all it takes. I'll go ahead and dump that stuff in there. I don't need those anymore. And depending on if I do any ports, I definitely won't need it. Okay. The reactor sails. Basically, if you hold shift on any of this stuff, it does describe it. It says the more sails that are placed, the more rapidly fuel is used. Sails will be more efficient for each other sail they are adjacent to, or for each adjacent line of moderator blocks of length 4 at most, ending with another sail. Now, moderator blocks, if we take a look at those are things like your blocks of graphite, your blocks of, yeah, it's just those two, blocks of graphite and blocks of beryllium. And these are, I think, for all practical purposes, I didn't notice any difference in them in my test world. They are, for all practical purposes, they are the same. Beryllium, basically you can get this stuff. It's supposed to come whenever you mine coal, but I haven't gotten any, so I think you're going to have to go through like a crafting chain to create that. But anyways, let's find the center of the reactor, which is right here. And you can do a reactor door. I'm not going to do a reactor door on this design. But there is, if you're curious, there is a reactor door that you can use. This right here. It just requires some reactor casings. You can put this up and it will count as a reactor casing. Okay, and then you could put a stone pressure plate here, a stone pressure plate on the inside, and access it. So if you have extra space inside of your reactor, you can stick other things in there. Don't stick reactor casings or transparent fission reactor casings inside of there. Anything else, I mean, you could put crafting tables and torches and you know, things like that if you wanted to inside of your reactor. It doesn't mess things up like other multi-blocks from other mods, like big reactors can't have other stuff in it, and smelteries from Tinker's Construct, they can't have anything in it, so on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put down a reactor sails, and if you recall, they are more adjacent when they're next to each other, or moderator blocks like your graphite. We're actually going to run big reactor style. We're going to run reactor sails up like this. Just like that. Which is going to increase the amount of heat generated by a lot. But it also makes it very, very efficient. Like I said, I want a very efficient reactor that auto toggles itself on and off. Okay? And basically the more efficient it is means the more power you're going to get per sail. And the reactor design that I came up with is running at about 700% efficiency. So it's a fairly efficient reactor. It generates a lot of power per tick, like 70-something thousand. And it does generate a little bit of heat. Not a lot. We do run coolers in here and totally fill out the reactor with cooling and stuff. But it does run a little bit of heat. So it's only going to run for, I don't know, maybe 40-50 seconds, and then it's going to shut off. But it generates so much power that it's not really a concern for us at the moment. It's going to be toggled off 90% of the time. Probably 99% of the time, honestly. Okay, so we got that stuff put in. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to set up our fuel. And to do this, we're going to automate our fuel system a little bit. And so what we're going to need is, first up, we're going to need a smeltery. And I'm not for sure if I just want to run this through the smeltery that we have. I don't know if that's what I want to do, or... because this is kind of like my manual smeltery, and I think I'd rather have just a really small automated smeltery for this. So give me just a second. I'm going to craft up some stuff real quick. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to set up the fuel automation for this. So for right now, we're going to put it just right over here. I think should be good. And the first thing that we're going to need to do, I guess right over there. Yeah, we'll at least put this little setup here. We're going to set up a little miniature smeltery. It's a little baby smeltery. It's not going to be very big. It doesn't need to be big. So we're going to have our controller setting, we'll put the controller right here. And then we're going to put down our gauge. Which this will get shaped up, cleaned up, all that good stuff. Let's put that there. Put our gauge down. This is going to store our liquids. And we're going to put in an ender tank setting right here. And diamond lock, magenta, 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 which of course is our UU matter line, and we're going to set that to output. Now I'm hoping that it's going to prioritize this. If not, because my tank's not full with UU at the moment. But there's a couple ways that we could go about fixing that, depending on how this does. We'll give it just a little bit here. And then we'll do, seared brick setting right there. Smeltery drain setting right there. And then what we're going to do is, let me get some more seared bricks actually. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and order a few of those. Let me get a few of these actually. There's 8 of those. Let me go ahead now, and the mod Tinker.io is in the pack. And we haven't actually touched on this. I want to make a smart output. This is what we're going to use for making our stuff. And then let me pop down to the IC2 area. And for right now, I'm just going to steal this ingot cast. I can make more. I don't use the ingot cast all that much anymore. So, but if I need one, I can make one. So we've got our smart output. We've got our ingot cast. Let's go ahead now and get a fluid duct. Okay, I'm going to have to automate Invar plates at some point. Those, and then if we take a network cable, we can get ourselves 12 hardened opaque fluid ducts. That's what I want. And then let's get ourselves a servo. I'll go ahead and grab 2 of those. We might end up using it. This is not getting UU at the moment. Okay. Which I think what I might do is, let me grab another diamond. Oops. Let me grab some magenta. I want 2. And then let me grab a piece of bone meal. In fact. We're going to change this up a little bit. This might be for the best. So we're going to do magenta, white, magenta on the ender tank line. And then we're going to set up another ender tank up here. That's basically just going to take the UU matter. And so we're going to do, we'll set this right here. We're going to do a diamond lock on it. And then we're going to do magenta, white, magenta. There we go. And in this controller, what we're going to do is we're going to say that ender chest is going to insert. There we go. So it should start feeding in UU matter into that from this. Okay. That's perfect. And that way we can have an ender tank line that basically takes the UU from that hub spot and just sends it around. And because we're going to be using that as like our smeltery fluid for most cases. So there we go. It's starting to fill up with UU matter. Okay. And then what I want to do, just to make sure that this is closed up on top, I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to... eventually, I'm going to build these out like this. So eventually we're going to have like a little 3x3 smeltery block thing there. And maybe kind of shape it up a little bit. But okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our fluid ducts. We're going to attach it right there. And I don't know if these can pump to the side of the smart output. Does that work? We're about to find out. Attach that right there, and we're going to say that you ignore redstone. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take some of our uranium that we're making. And this comes, of course, from uranium processing with IC2, but it also comes from whenever it processes the rods that we're creating for free, basically, from our UU matter to uranium rod setup. Okay, so it's going to take that, it's going to process it down. Actually, it doesn't take that long because we're running UU matter, so it runs a bit hotter. And then if we take a look there, there's molten uranium, 1 ingot, 2 ingots. We're going to toss this into there, and there we go. It's going to start crafting uranium ingots for us. Okay, now one thing I want to do is I want to... Well, I don't really need to increase the buffer size. That's fine. You can craft buffer increases. If you take a look at Tinker.io, there's these right here. And you can increase the storage that it has. There used to be speed upgrades, but they're gone now. So it's just fast all the time. And basically it auto-cools it, which is important for us. Okay, so then what we're going to do, now that we've got the IC2 uranium, is we want to, let me actually grab that. It would be easier to just use that through JEI. There's a few processing steps that we want to do. And first up, we want to, which we're going to be sending that uranium over here wirelessly here in just a minute. I don't know if I'm going to use an ender chest or how I want to do that, but if we go over here to the nuclearcraft stuff, what we can do is we can process this into uranium-238. But before we do that, I want to oxidize it. So we can use oxygen or liquid oxygen from Mechanism. And we're going to turn this immersive engineering uranium into uranium oxide ingots. And we need to make the electrolyzer. Splits compounds into their elements. We should be able to just craft this, I think, for the most part. I think I need to make the machine casing. And I think there's a quest related to this, so... This right here... Now I'm going to need some more advanced plating. Okay. Well, there's that. Advanced plating is tough alloys around basic plating. So let me just order... some basic plating. There we go. We'll go ahead and craft 4. I should probably automate that. Let me do that real quick. We're going to be automating that tough alloy here soon. That's why I kind of wanted to start with like a, not really a small reactor. It's a decent size reactor, and it's actually a pretty good reactor. But I want to start with that, and then we can actually get all this stuff automated and then expand. So there is our electrolyzer. And we got the fizzing electrodes advancement. And if we take a look in here, I think we probably got a quest complete. Oh, it's after the salt mixer. Which we're not actually doing that right this second. We will later on, but okay. Well, anyways, let's take our electrolyzer and let's get ourselves an infinite water source. And I've got these right here. This is going to be plenty of water for our needs. And let me steal... I need an RTG. I'll just steal one from the Thaumcraft area for now. Because once this is done, our power issues will be over. But for right now, we need to deal with these. Okay, so we're going to put down our electrolyzer. It's going to set right here, let's say. And we'll go ahead and put our RTG right there. And then our infinite water source is going to sit right here. And this is going to start filling up with water, and it's going to start processing that water down. And this thing does use a bit of power. As you can see, it's going to drain this. There we go. We got some deuterium. We got oxygen, hydrogen, and more hydrogen. And I guess the hydrogen, the deuterium, I guess we're just going to store that away. So I'm going to make just some tanks for now. I think... Let's see, I'm sure we need the hydrogen for something. Yeah, chemical reactor and fusion reactor, we're going to be using both of those, so we'll just hold on to those. So I'm just going to make 3 of these, just basic thermal tanks for the time being. I'm not for sure if this will continue producing once these are full. That I'm not sure about. We may have to set up some trash cans and stuff, but we'll run it and we'll see. Anyways, we'll just toss these down, like 2 right there. And then this one is going to sit right here. Let me get... Can I bucket this out? I put that in the wrong tank, actually, but that's fine. I'll fix it here in just a second. Okay, there's oxygen. We're going to put the... oxygen tank right there. And we'll put the other tank right there. Okay. And then let's attach our fluid ducts. And we're just going to run these out like that. Reinforce servo. Ignore redstone. Okay, there we go. Deuterium, hydrogen, oxygen. Just like that. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we need the next machine in our processing line. That is the fluid infuser. Because we need to infuse this uranium with oxygen. So I may end up having to just trash. I may not end up using the deuterium and oxygen, or the deuterium and hydrogen. I may end up just trashing that once those tanks are filled. I'm not for sure if it's going to void it after a certain point. So I've got to look into that. But okay, so the fluid infuser, this, we're going to need another one of these, of course. And the fluid infusing, I'm going to need another plating. There we go, fluid infuser. There's so many steps involved with this stuff. Okay, soaking it up advancement, and we got the fluid infuser crafted. Let's go ahead and grab a loot chest. And we got a mob imprisonment tool. I will take that. That'll be useful a little bit later on. So, okay, so the fluid infuser, we're going to have this setting just right here. This is going to take... It's going to take these uranium ingots that we're making, as well as I'm going to need some more servos and some item ducts as well. Okay, and we're going to pull out the oxygen from there, attach a servo, ignore redstone. Oh, now it's going to get hydrogen. Okay, and I actually need a filter as well. I need to just filter these on their location. So let me get, can I can't steal a bucket out of there. Okay, let me clear out the hydrogen. And I just want to grab a bucket of the oxygen. And we're going to put a filter right there. Whitelist oxygen. Okay. And then I can put this back right there, because it's getting like deuterium in there. So only oxygen is allowed in right now. And we'll just replace that. Okay. So that's sorted. And I don't know if this stuff's going to back up. We're going to find out here soon. I tell you what, let's do a fluid trash can. Okay, I ran into a slight problem. I was recording and my my storage got filled up and it cut off part of the recording. Usually I'm pretty good about deleting as I go, but I've had a really busy weekend. It was my anniversary this weekend, and also the older of my two pugs had surgery this weekend, just getting fixed, you know. But so she had surgery, but she's doing good, so yay. She hasn't acted like it bothered her very much, but I've been kind of spending time with her. But anyways, I did make a fluid trash can here, and I've got it set to take hydrogen and deuterium. So it seems to be taking it after, you know, once these are filled, then it sends it on, because my fluid ducts were actually getting backed up. Whenever this would fill up with hydrogen, it would back up the fluid ducts, so it couldn't send out deuterium and oxygen. So that was a little bit of an issue. So right now it's backing up on oxygen. And then also it cut off. It did cut off quite a bit of footage. So it's sending that oxygen over here, and it is running the uranium, and it's making that oxidized uranium ingots. And then from there, it's getting sent out reinforced servo to an isotope separator, and this is taking those uranium oxide ingots, and it's breaking those down. And we're going to see it activate or run here in just a second. And we get uranium-238 oxide and tiny clumps of uranium-235 oxide. And then that's coming down via item duct. This is eventually going to be impulse item duct, so I'll make them opaque whenever we upgrade those. It's coming down with a reinforced servo, and it's coming over to just a crafter tier 1. And that's kind of where I actually left off, and then the footage I noticed it was filled, so we'll pick back up. But anyways, I set up a recipe here to make uranium-235 oxide using 9 tiny clumps of uranium-235. And this is set to stay in the input buffer for that recipe. So, I mean, that's the main things that I set up. That's really all the footage that got cut off, was I set up the fluid trash can with the filter. It's filtering those liquids, and then we'd set up the fluid infuser, and then it's sending it over to an isotope separator, which we crafted and covered earlier. And then it's splitting those off and just making that uranium-235. Okay, so this has ran for a minute. You can see we've actually made our first piece of uranium-235, which is this recipe here. And right now I have it set to on to activate. So let's go ahead and we're going to take our uranium-235 and our tiny clumps, and we're just going to lay these out like that is fine. The rest of this can be space for uranium-238 oxide. And let's go ahead and say, remember the current items in the internal and external buffers. There we go. So if I was to pull these out, it's still going to save uranium-238 in all these slots. And uranium-235, oh, actually, it's made a little bit extra space here. Let's say forget. I'm glad that they changed that, though. And now remember, there we go. Now it's remembered that. Okay, and then we're going to make another recipe here, and we're going to say that if you take uranium-235 oxide, you take 238 oxide, place it like that, you're going to get LEU-235 oxide fuel. Okay, and we're going to go ahead, that's the one that generates 504 RF per tick, base heat generation 75 heat units per tick. And it's a 30-minute processing time. So 30 minutes is one cell. Okay, and then as we add more, the process time is not going to be quite as long. So let's go ahead. Oh, whoops. I forgot to apply that recipe. Apply that. And this is, and we'll just leave that as, go to the output buffer, but remaining items will stay, because there's not going to be any remaining items. It doesn't really matter. I guess we can set it to external and then apply. Okay, so now we're going to set this to ignore redstone again. And you can see it's made us LEU-235 oxide fuel. It's made 4 pieces of it so far. And this has actually stopped running because it's probably out of oxygen at the moment. It is. Let's go ahead and just put this back. It can start making more oxygen. That's fine. Okay. That'll be a whole lot easier to run this system whenever we actually have power. But anyways, let's go ahead and grab a couple pieces of this. And we're going to put this into our fission controller. And if we give it just a second here. There we go. Right now it's generating 28,728 RF per tick and 8,100 heat units. Now we're not going to activate this. If you apply redstone, it'll turn it on, but it's nowhere near being ready to turn on. Because our power generation, like I said, our power generation is going to get up to about, I think it's 70, I think this design is like 74, 75,000 per tick. Something like that. And the heat units are, they're about that, actually. We do cool it down a little bit, but we increase the amount of heat that we're generating as we increase the power and efficiency that we have. Right now, the efficiency is 271.4%. So it's a little bit more efficient than normal. And with a single fuel, it's going to run 86 seconds is all that's going to run. But it generates a lot of power once it's done. So the time isn't that much of a concern. If we add fuel into this, you'll notice it doesn't consume that. It only consumes one of these fuels at a time. It runs for however long that fuel lasts across all of its cells and, its efficiency and stuff like that. And then it'll add a new fuel. So next episode, I think it'll probably be probably 2 episodes before we turn this thing on. We got the fuel being created. We have the base reactor shape. Next episode, we're going to work on coolers, and we're going to start adding cooling to it and all the guts of the inside of it, and the graphite and all that fun stuff. We're going to work on adding all that stuff, and then we also have to do the redstone control for when to turn this thing on, and the power storage, power transfer, all that stuff has to be implemented as well. Then we'll be able to activate this thing, start running it, start generating a lot of power, and it's going to be kind of flipping on and off. Well, it's going to flip on, then probably flip right off pretty quick. Then it's going to wait a while, and then it's going to flip back on. We're going to be using Power Monitor from Ender.io to handle all that. But anyways, I hope you guys join me for next time. We'll start getting into a bit more nuclearcraft next episode. At least we got our fuel taken care of, sort of. I mean, it's not running great, but it is running. It is kind of running at the moment. So, but we'll continue on with that next episode. This power source is going to be super easy because this uranium-238, when you process it, like for example, like the uranium ore, we get 2 crushed uranium, then we run it through the ore washing plant, we get some lead, which of course is good. We get the purified crushed, and then from there we make 6 uranium-238 per. So we effectively we get 12 ingots. Yeah, actually it's better than the mechanism 5 times, really. We get 12 ingots of 238 per uranium ore through the thermal centrifuge. And then we also get some 235, which is just going to get voided because we don't really have any use for that. But we're getting 12 ingots of uranium. So over a fuel per uranium ore. Not to mention it runs passively because of the uranium fuel rod production from our reactors down below. So it's super effective, and it's actually going to generate a lot of power for our base. It's expensive to get started with, in truth. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure to hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.